Now, blockchain-based technologies are gaining traction in South Africa's finance ecosystem. This with authorities granting more licenses for use and growing adoption from mainstream finance institutions. Blockchain technology powers cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and markets, and have seen more mainstream adoption, rather driven in part by large fund managers. Business Days, Mudiwa Kavaza joins us now with deeper insights on these developments. Mudiwa, hi, how are you?
Good afternoon, Olutando.
Very, very interesting developments here, only because a few years ago, people barely understood what blockchain is. And to be honest, I don't think I quite get it yet. But let's talk about this technology and the developments that we've seen with it.
Cool. So the nice thing is that we're not having a discussion about Bitcoin.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when it comes to blockchain, it's the underlying technology that has powered cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, and it's Bitcoin that has taken over the conversation. It's the one that people look at. It's the one that's now tracked. Major publications. So that's one piece of it. But when you look at other parts of the blockchain now, right? What can you do? People often talk about, there's obviously the payments piece where you can receive payments, where you can accept payments, where you can make the payments in a decentralized fashion. People always talk about decentralized finance, right? That's one. And then you also have other applications such as smart contracts and that type of thing. But recently, we've seen a couple of moves in the space. I have to read what this license is called. Kotani Pay, which is one of the local fintech operators, they actually got a crypto asset service provider license, which is a CASP license from South Africa's FSCA, right? So slowly, we're seeing licensing actually coming about. And the reason why this is important is simply because as in a regulated space, such as finance, right, your credibility comes down to regulation, right? If the regulators aren't even paying attention to what you're doing, right, then it continues to just be fringe and on the side. But the moment you start getting some of these licenses and that type of thing, then you can actually start, engaging and interacting with some of the more mainstream providers.
Interesting. Yeah, when you speak about licensing, it means that the FSCA, is on top of it and ready to issue licenses. I'm keen to find out if, that phase kind of similar to what we're seeing happening globally. Are we seeing more and more regulators around the world in more developed nations and more emerging markets, I think where it matters most, also coming on board with these kinds of licenses?
Before we talk about the licenses, maybe we need to talk about where central banks are.
Got you.
In this equation. We've seen a number of central banks around the world, playing around with the idea of, the blockchain, with crypto, that type of thing. Where it seems the market is going is to understand that, we like blockchain, the technology, and the things we can do with it. Bitcoin, on the other hand, it can remain speculative. You can use it as money, whatever you want to do, that's Bitcoin. But the underlying technology, we actually think we like this technology. So you see a lot of central banks moving in that direction where they're ready to embrace the technology itself, which is why you've seen a lot of central bankers playing around with what are called stable coins, right? Where basically you're taking a digital representation of your existing currency, and then you're now using your blockchain, to make, and receive those payments. We've seen that US has been quite amenable to stuff like that. China has also been a little bit amenable to that. And the reason they like it is because you're centralizing. You're coming back to the centralized function again, right? So that's one piece. Then in South Africa, we've seen similar conversations, but there've been a lot of white papers and position papers, and the fintech community lobbying the SARB to say, hey, this is good technology, what can we do with it? And the SARB has been playing around, instituting certain sandboxes, putting in certain policies, so at least we're seeing this actually coming to fruition. I think just the last word on this, specifically with the Kotani Pay thing, it literally means that businesses that use Kotani Pay as a platform. So for example, if they're your payments provider, it means that you as a business can now receive payments that are done, through crypto, because at least you now have this. So it now becomes a method of payment as opposed to the thing. So you can accept card, you can accept this, and then crypto now becomes one of the things that you can do.
Now, I think I always lean towards a question of this nature. Where do the big banks fit into this? Because, of course, we always see the fintechs running ahead, and we've spoken about why that's the case, and why that probably should be the case. But, of course, what we do find is that eventually banks also try to figure out how they can compete with these fintechs. Are banks, traditional banks in South Africa, very traditional, I would say, here at home, thinking about blockchain? Are they bringing it in? Are they entertaining white papers? Are they sitting out for commentary? Where are we in terms of it being brought to the mainstream system in that regard?
Banks have found themselves in an interesting situation. The couple of banks that I have spoken to around crypto and blockchain, once again, coming back to, we like the blockchain technology, and we think we can see, great applications for this. Crypto, on the other hand, a bit touch and go, but the blockchain technology, we like it. So the conversations I've had with banks, that's where we sit, right? That's one. Two, you see a number of traditional financial institutions rather investing in technologies that have to do with the blockchain as opposed to doing it themselves, because everything is about risk. So if you can get someone else to take on the risk, but you're simply just investing in some of these ideas, those are some of the things that we have seen. What I'm keen to see is how certain traditional markets are going to evolve. I know that you guys have spoken to the likes of Mesh.Trade, and that team. They recently helped to raise about 100 million rand bond, right, using tokenization. Tokenization is very simple. You're literally taking a real world asset and you're just making a digital representation of it, right? I was talking to a gentleman from Forbes Mazars the other day, and he said NFTs had to crawl so that tokenization could run.
Okay, interesting.
Because the idea is still basically the same, but instead of, overinflated art and that type of thing, we take real world assets. So for example, you have a house. How do you sell shares in a house, right? You create, a token.
Create shares.
You create shares, which become tokens on the blockchain, and then that's how and then because the blockchain can help you with smart contracts and there's visibility, all of this stuff, it means that there's transparency, and none of that stuff where people go and mess around with the deeds office and now we don't know who's the actual owner, all of those things. Those are some of the applications that people are saying, actually, this is where we see the market going.
Interesting. It sounds like it's going to be disruptive. Looking forward to hearing more about it. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure chatting. That was Mudiwa Gavaza, business writer for The Business Day.